Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Ramsden, director of the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. It's 6:30 a.m., so I'm having to whisper. If I wake up my wife, well, it's going to be bad. So my friend Pranvera in Kosovo sent me some H-alpha images that she took with her 80 millimeter scope that we donated to her, and she wanted my help processing them. So I thought I would just do a YouTube video of me processing these images. So here we go. Here's the three images she sent, and let's drop them into Photoshop. They're pretty good images. Last time she recorded some images, she didn't have the gamma set high enough, and a lot of people do that. They try to record the image on the camera to look like a finished image, and what they're doing is just knocking out most of the data when they do that. So your gamma has to be, your sensitivity of your camera has to be set higher, and when you're capturing the images, this is what you want it to look like. Almost oversaturated, but really you're just getting 100% of the data. And as you can see, her stacked image is beautiful, and it's got data at every brightness level, including prominences and surface features. And this is what you want to strive for when you're capturing the data. So don't try to make it look like a finished image on your screen when you're capturing it, because you'll lose half or more of the data. So capture it like this and then process it down in Photoshop. So the first thing I like to do is crop my image using the crop tool, the select tool, Photoshop. Make it nice and centered and crop. There we go. Okay, so this image is already pretty good the way it is. I mean, this is what the sun really looks like. It's not the moon, so there's no sharp edges or anything on the sun. It's a big ball of gas. But everybody likes them to be sharp and all that, so we'll do that. So I like to smart sharpen using the smart sharpen tool, and it gives you the several options in here. But basically, use the advanced, and you change this radius and the amount to give you different sharpening levels. So find something. If you click on something over here, it gives you a zoomed in version of it here, and you can see how your sharpening is going to affect things. So if you go way to the right with radius, it starts looking terrible. Let's come back down to about 2.5 and somewhere around 100%, 150% is too much. Let's go to 88%. That looks pretty good. Okay, so the difference here is that to this. Very subtle difference, and that's what you want to do when you're sharpening images. Don't do as much as you think you should do. Back off a little bit, because it always looks better. In fact, I'm going to back off a little bit here. So smart sharpen at 83%, 2.5 pixel radius. And this is a point gray 5 megapixel grasshopper camera that she's using. Next thing, well, I want to process the prominences differently than the surface. So the first thing you got to do is draw a mask. And I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. And just start up here and manually draw the mask. This can be tedious, but it has to be done. So the magnetic tool senses differences in contrast and draws the selection mask for you if you get it near what you want. The computer determines what it thinks you want to mask off. So there we go. Sometimes if you have a really bright prominence, it'll jump on top of that prominence, and you got to manually go through it. Like, let's say it jumped on top of this. You can just manually click your way through to preserve the sun's limb if it starts jumping onto the prominences. So it's a very forgiving tool, by the way. If you screw up, you just hit the delete button, and it will take off the most recent point. So here we go. And wherever those boxes are placed, that means that's that's what it's selected. So if you don't like where the box is, just hit the delete button. And then when you get back up to here, you see the mouse changes to tell you that if you click here, it'll finalize the mask. So there, we missed it. So hit delete, go back, and there you go. So now it's got this mask drawn around the surface. And that would be great, except there's a few tricks involved. Whenever you draw a mask, you should always smooth it. So select, modify, smooth. Let's choose 50 pixels for our smoothing. And what this does is it gets rid of any ridges or non-circular paths that have been added here. So when you smooth it, it makes it a lot more circular. And let's go to modify and feather, because we want the changes to gradually blend in with what's not masked. So we'll use a feather of 3 pixels. See what that looks like. Okay, so now anything you do to this surface features is going to be feathered into the prominence. So there won't be a strong black line around the mask like you see in a lot of photos. So let's go, and for the surface, the first thing I'm going to do is adjust the levels. Adjustment, levels. And if you move this to the right, see it gets darker. I'm going to move these a little bit to the right. Very good. I like that. So I'll stop there, choose OK. And then a lot of people will take this opportunity to invert the disk, and it gives you that image that you've seen a lot on the internet. Beautiful in my opinion. We're not going to do that just yet though. So edit, undo, invert. Now let's remove the mask and see what the line looks like. Deselect. Okay, so you have no glaring black line between the surface and the proms. So that's a pretty good image. In my opinion, you could just go with that. I'm going to hit reselect, show you where that mask was, and then deselect to show you that. Okay, looks pretty good in my opinion. Let's reselect, and then let's select inverse. This will let us work on the prominences and the background. So the first thing I'm going to do there is adjustments, levels. I want to darken it up a little bit. Get rid of some of the noise back there. Okay. Let's try that. Now let's look at our line and see what the line looks like. Yeah, still looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so pretty quick, really. The next thing I'm going to do is my final sharpening. Filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. And just use a very small amount of unsharp mask. Almost none. About 1 pixel radius. Very, very, very subtle. About 30%. Okay, and I'll show you why this is called iterative unsharp mask, because it works a lot better if you apply a very small amount multiple times than if you try to apply one large amount at one time. So let's do a small amount, 25%, 0.9 pixels, and hit OK. Almost no difference, but let's do it 3 times. If you hit filter again, it remembers the last thing you did. So hit unsharp mask again, filter, unsharp mask again, filter, unsharp mask again. That's iterative unsharp. That's looking pretty good if you ask me. I might go a little bit darker on the background. And let's try it with just brightness adjustment, because there's still a little bit of noise in there. Okay. Now let's check our line, see if it looks good. Looks pretty good. All right, I think we're ready to color this image. So the way I color is by using curves. Make sure you're in RGB color mode and not grayscale mode. So we choose RGB color, image adjustment, curves. And here's how curves work. It's an RGB image. You can adjust each channel differently. So the first thing I do is I go to blue, and I just take all the blue out. It's been my experience that blue looks terrible in an H alpha image. So let's just get rid of all the blue. Then I go to red, and this graph shows you where the data is. So you can grab it in the center and just pump the red up a little bit. We'll start with that. Then I go to the green, and this is where the beauty comes in. Let's get the green, move it up a little bit, or let's try moving it down some. Boom. Say right about there. Okay, and as you can see, there's a little uneven illumination here on this side of the image, and that could be fixed with high pass filter. If you want, we can try that. It's in the other selection, high pass, and yeah, I don't like the way that looks. We'll just go with the uneven illumination here. So anyway, I'm gonna stop here and save this. I like to save them as JPEGs at full size and full quality. So we'll save this as a JPEG image in the same location where the original image was. Maximum quality large file, and choose OK. So I'm going to close this image. Let's go to this one. I'll just do it all without talking and see what it looks like for you. Okay, crop. The images are a little noisy, as you can see. Image, crop. And I have my Smart Sharpen saved as an action over here. So I just apply Smart Sharpen. In my opinion, that's done. Like right here, you can just hit curves. And I have my curves saved also. Ramsden Orange Fire is the one I usually use. And there you go. Okay, but let's do something different with this one. Let's mask off the surface. And as you can see on a smaller scale, it's a little easier to draw. Oops. A little bit of uneven illumination in this image, but it's not unforgivable. It's just the way it is. Okay, so smooth feather this one 3 pixels, and let's invert it. Adjustments, invert. To me, that's pretty awesome. As you can see, there's some banding in the image also. So let's deselect. Let's see what our image looks like. Yeah, we got that ring around it. See the ring? There's a couple ways to attack that. Reselect it. Just increase the brightness. Okay, we can try that. And see, this will get rid of most of that ring. Or, I don't tell anybody I told you this, but here's the way most people do it. Just cut the surface out and then paste it back in and select it with the selection tool and just make it bigger. Just expand it over the line. This is the way 99% of the people out there do it, to get rid of the line. Okay, there you go. So now let's just color that. Make sure it's in RGB. Curves. And I'm going to take the blue out. Put me some green in there. Or maybe take out the green. Ooh, that's pretty neat. Look at that. That's pretty sweet. Let's close that. Put some red in there. Pretty sweet. Choose. Okay. Layer. Flatten the image and you're done. So let's, I might make this entire image a little bit brighter. I don't like the way this is shown up here, but this is uneven illumination on the scope. It's due to it not being tuned exactly right. But I think it looks pretty good anyway. Okay. Let's save that. Save as JPEG. Full quality. Now let's see what else Pranvera sent us. Okay, there's a little bit closer view. Maybe she was using a focal reducer or something with it. That other one, maybe that's why it is unevenly illuminated. Filter, smart sharpen. Yeah, it looks really nice. So this is probably native focal length. That's why there's no uneven illumination. It looks a lot better. Oh, let's just do this one quick. Levels. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. And it's done, if you ask me. We might put some iterative unsharp mask on there. Filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. Very small amount. Do it about 4 times. Maybe 3 times. Let's back off on one of those. Okie doke. Now, if you want to color this, you can. I'm going to save it as a monochrome first because it looks really good the way it is. So let's save it as a monochrome JPEG. And now let's just color it something. Make sure it's RGB color in the image mode, adjustments, curves, and I have some saved. So let's try orange fire. Beautiful. Beautiful image. Might take the levels down just a little bit. So get some of that noise out of the background. Okay, there you go. Beautiful. So let's save this. Save as JPEG. And you gotta call it something different. It'll overview the file. Save. Okay. I never know. So we're done processing. Let's look at these images together to see what they turned into. Okay, here's my desktop. All right. Oops. All right, there it is. There it is. So from that to that, and from that to that. Okay. So listen, I'm glad you tuned in, and image processing is really very simple. In fact, this entire hobby is very simple. So don't let people get you bogged down in saying that you have to spend 6 hours processing a solar image. You don't. You can spend about 90 seconds processing your solar image, and it's going to be beautiful. Yeah, the more work you do, you might get a couple subtle details out of it. But really, it's supposed to be fun, and we're supposed to share it with each other. So just find a simple way to do it the way you like, and keep doing it, and share this with other people, because the hobby is a wonderful gateway for people to get involved in science. So our main website is www.solarastronomy.org, and I appreciate you listening. Take care.